Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm the City Witch. So today's video is on the subject of books used for protection and defensive magic. So I'm going to do what I've done in all my other videos. I'm going to score them from 1 to 10, give you an idea as to the content and whether I enjoyed the book or not. So the first book I'm going to talk to you about is called Defense Against the Dark Arts, Psychic Self-Protection for Practitioners of Magic by Frances Malville. And it looks like that. Now this is the very first book I ever got on this subject, and to be honest, at the time I read it, I absolutely adored it. I thought it was a fantastic book, really enjoyed it. However, now I know there's better books out there. I wouldn't score this as high as what I maybe would have done back then. But I'm going to tell you what it contains. So let's have a look at the content. So, the first chapter of this book is the dark arts. So it literally lists everything and tells you how to recognise the different areas of black magic and negative practitioners out there. So, the dark arts: Satanism, black lodges, black magic, witchcraft, voodoo, vampirism, hauntings and possession. So straight away you notice witchcraft is one of that. Now when I first read this I was a little bit insulted that witchcraft was there, thinking, well, I'm a witch and I'm not evil. But that's not what it means. What it means is there are magical practitioners out there who choose to use their magic in a really negative way, and if someone annoys them or irritates them, or they're just having a particularly bad day and you're in their way, they'll use magic for every little thing, including making you get out of their way or making you go away because you're annoying them. So, and some of the ways they use their magic is pretty baneful and hurtful. So the reason witchcraft is on here is because obviously not every witch is nice and not every witch uses their magic in really healthy ways. So this was giving you examples of that, and that's why witchcraft is in there. That's actually the same for voodoo and actually the same for Satanists as well, because another point I want to make is I've met quite a few Satanists and not all of them are negative or evil. They just don't believe in the Christian God and choose to believe in Satan, and the path that they follow is obviously completely different to witchcraft. So it is a separate subject entirely, and not all of them are evil or nasty or malicious. I've met some really nice ones, so that's something else to consider, guys. Just because they're on the list doesn't mean they're all the same, so don't bunk them in the same category. It's the same as witches. There are good ones and there are bad ones. Simple as. And then chapter 2 of this book is self-defense. So this is symptoms and diagnosis, so obviously how to recognise whether you think you're being under attack or whether there's a curse or a hex on you. Then the auric field, so it talks to you about how to shield and protect yourself using your aura. And then building your magical shield, mantras and meditations, amulets, talismans, angel magic and exorcism. Now, there's a couple of points I want to make there. First of all, it talks about exorcism because of the possession chapter, but the possession chapter isn't a complete chapter and doesn't give you all the stages of how you get to possession, because there's a number of stages before that, such as obsession. So it's a little bit basic, and then obviously the exorcism is in counter to what they've said there. Then there's a section on amulets and then a separate section on talismans, but to be honest I think you could have put them in the same category along with charms, because they're all made in a very similar way and there's rules where they cross over, so I think it would have been less confusing to combine that. And then the other thing I want to say is the chapter on auric shielding and defense was fantastic. That was probably the best part about this book, and actually a lot of the techniques that he taught in this book I actually went on to teach my students and I've memorized them and they were really handy. He teaches you how to manipulate your aura in such a way that you can use it as a shield, and how to convert that into various different types of shields as well, and the exercises you can do for that. So that was really good. What I will say about this book though is it's severely lacking on great information. It just gives you the basic bare minimal of the main subjects you might need to know. But at the time, this was the only book that I had on the subject of magical self-defense, so that's why I thought it was amazing. But now I know there's much better out there. This falls short in a lot of ways. So for that reason, I'm only going to score it about 4 out of 10. But if you're a newbie and someone is still in the broom closet, it's a small, easy book to hide, which is why I want to recommend it. And actually the content in it does cover all the basic fields that you'll need to know in the first year or so of your training, and then if you want to expand later on you can do. So this is actually a really good book for that reason, but I'm still only going to score it a 4 out of 10. And for anybody out there who's going, Defense Against the Dark Arts is a Harry Potter thing, no it's not. They stole it from us. Defense Against the Dark Arts is one of the 13 major subjects of the craft that a practitioner has to learn and master in their year and a day training in order to be considered a proper witch or wizard. So this is a proper book on witchcraft and defence against the dark arts is a proper subject. It's not a Harry Potter thing, although Harry Potter did use it. So there we go. So 4 out of 10 for me. So the next book I want to talk to you about is by Silver Ravenwolf, and it's called Silver's Spells for Protection, and it looks like that. So again, I've had this one a long time. It was one of the books I got in my youth, so I think I was literally about maybe in my early 20s, so 2021 when I got it. And at that time it was a brand new book out, and it was a really interesting book. And again, this was the second book I ever owned on the subject of magical protection and self-defense. So obviously there was not a lot out there when it came to this sort of stuff, and I was really interested in learning how to protect myself. I knew that there was a lot of people out there that abused magic, used it incorrectly, were flying around energies and doing what they wanted with their spellcraft, not actually thinking about consequences. So I wanted to know how to protect myself from all of those energies, and this came on the market, and I thought this would be great because this is an actual book on proper magic and actually using spells to protect myself. So I enjoyed the book when I read it. There's still a lot of recipes and techniques in this that I really do enjoy and use, but she comes across as quite a fluffy witch. Now, the word fluffy, I just want to clarify, is something that came out when I was probably about 25, 26 years old, and it's a term used for the kind of witch who doesn't believe too much in the negative and the darker side of the craft and refuses to almost acknowledge it, but it's also used for somebody who kind of fluffs their magic and makes it pretty instead of actually making it practical. So there's a variation on that term. So by me calling her, you know, a fluffy writer, what I'm saying is the way that she's presented the information in this is very, very basic. She uses very easy to get household items, so for that reason it's good for someone in the broom closet or a beginner. But for someone who's an advanced practitioner who knows there's much better tools out there, more powerful ingredients, things that work much better, she doesn't really give you a fair opportunity to learn that in this book, and she doesn't actually give you ways to go out and further that information either. So that's a little bit of a negative and a downside for me on this book. What she does do though is, like I said, she does give you a lot of information in this book, and I'm not going to read it all out because she does really drone on in the contents about all the things. She literally lists everything one at a time instead of just giving you a chapter title and things you can work on. So chapter 1 is like the instructions of this book. So, you know, living a life of protection, what is this book used for, balance, manifestation and banishment, energies, correspondences, timing, being honest with yourself, why magic doesn't always work, don't look for black magic, the darker side of craft, and magical people, don't go there. So she gives you a big warning on why obviously baneful negative magic is something you should stay away from and the reasons why. She talks about karmic debt quite a bit, which does tell you that she's a Wiccan and she obviously follows the Wiccan Rede, and she believes in casting negative magic against people is going to have severe consequences, and she talks to you in great detail about that. So obviously she's sort of giving you a lowdown on what that could mean for you if you went down that route. She also obviously talks to you about, you know, not looking for black magic and why you shouldn't look for it, but I actually thought that was the worst part of this book. Something I actually teach my students is that if you don't actually understand dark magic and, you know, the negativity out there and curses and hexes and baneful magic as a general subject, then how can you possibly hope to defend against it properly and actually dissect it and really understand it and work against it? So it's kind of like not knowing how, it's kind of like what you do in science, I suppose, when you dissect a frog and you learn in biology. They don't know how that frog worked or functioned until they dissected it and figured it out. It's the same with witchcraft. You need to dissect magic and you need to figure it out and you need to challenge a little bit. So don't just do a spell because a book tells you to and it's going to work. Actually think, why that ingredient? Why that doesn't make sense, and go and look up that ingredient, figure out what magical correspondence it has and whether it's something that resonates with you, because you might know a better way or a better item to use in place of that. So actually really think about dissecting magic, and, you know, again, that's something I think that she neglected in this and didn't really inform the reader about, so a negative for me. So chapter 2, personal prevention magic. So this is when she starts talking to you about the different things you could do. So, are you sending the wrong message? Clarity spells, averting disaster planned by others. The 4 directions protection spell, the Dragon's Eye Triangle, the internal warning system, the Witch's Girdle, sea salt protection, Penelope's protection web, spells for travel and trips, shopping with a gargoyle, vacation magic, hotel and motel magic, if you get lost, Web of light, aeroplane and airport magic, protection for your vehicle. If your car breaks down, protection spells for your home, bless your home. Folk charms for house and apartments, protection for those in the home, handkerchief magic, and protection against pregnancy, preventing barrenness, for your friends and social situations, wolf protection ritual, a charm string, sexual assault, protecting the servant who protects you. So just to explain that one a little bit, that's like when you're calling things like guardians and spirits into your home to protect you, then there's ways to protect them as well in turn. So there's like this whole circle going on of magical energy for protection. So that was really interesting. And then chapter 3, banishing those lesser irritations. So simple folk spells for little troubles, eliminating stress, crossed conditions, uncrossing colours, reversals, curses, stay frosty spell, melting misery, 4 thieves vinegar recipe, which was very good by the way, mirror work to repel negativity, to stop a particular bad case of gossip, nasties of the internet, medical madness, stolen limelight, liar liar pants on fire, separation the black ribbon ritual, in your face with dead disgrace, big mama mushroom spell, and stirring up chaos. And then chapter 4, when things get sticky. So chapter 4 was probably the most interesting chapter for me because it was the most interesting spell work. So hang them up to dry, to bring an animal killer or abuser to justice, the dark goddess powder, break apart those who stand against you, I want my stuff back, your cold black heart, getting rid of a jealous lover, shrinking evil, candle magic for court cases, legal assistance, banish media lies, to overcome anger at work, to catch a thief, nailing a criminal, triple action protection incense, fearsome phantoms, when it gets pretty deep, the rite of Timotheus, when things get deeper still, the rite of the Furies, and tips for reporting suspicious activities and tying things up. And then she gives you a list of appendices. She talks to you about herbs, colours, astrological signs, planet hours, moon phases, and then she gives you further reading list as well. So she covers quite a wide variety of subjects, and the spells in this are quite extensive, and she does give you a lot of information. So for that reason, you know, it's a pretty good read. It's worth having in your collection, and for the sake of it being a magical book on spells, you know, that's pretty unique because most of the books here are more about using psychic energies rather than actual spellcraft. So, you know, it's in a bit of a category of its own, this one. So I'm gonna score this one, I think, about a 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10. As I say, she does fall short a little bit for me, and she does fluff things up a little bit too much in the book and pretty things up too much for my taste, but that's a personal preference. But the content is good, the information is sound, and she is a good magical practitioner and an amazing writer. So yeah, 7 out of 10 I'd say. So the next one I'm going to talk to you about, actually I'm going to talk to you two at the same time because they're pretty much the same subject. So we've got Psychic Protection by Ted Andrews, and then we've got Psychic Protection by Judy Hall, and it's these ones. Now these come at this subject from two completely different perspectives. So Ted Andrews first. So with this one, he gives you a lot of useful information to use when it comes to psychic self-defense and using and developing your psychic skills. Whereas Judy Hall incorporates crystals, charms and magic for you to learn psychic self-defense. So there is some psychic stuff in this, but she also incorporates lots of other things as well. So she expands upon it a little bit, and some of the techniques are really unusual, which I do like. And one of the things I'm going to say about her book, which I did learn from her, which I liked, was we all wear jewellery, we all wear crystals and magical symbols, and we know generally the pentagram should be a protective symbol, but she talks a lot about actually charging them and dedicating them to be that, and actually know that they protect you because you actually put power into doing that. So she teaches you how to do that in this book, and she teaches you a lot about the magical jewellery you're wearing, whether it be a ring or a key ring or a necklace or a bracelet, and she teaches you how to actually charge and program it specifically for certain protection purposes to aid your natural auric field, and that was really good as well. So great. And in this one, Ted Andrews, as I say, works a lot with animal magic. So one of the things he teaches you in this is how to summon animal guardians and work with animal directional guardians that are going to protect your home and your person, and how to incorporate shape-shifting into your craft and psychic art, which was really interesting. And he teaches you as well how to develop your natural auric field, and there's a lot of exercise in this that I actually teach my students even today. I mean, it teaches you how to manipulate and change your aura, how to program it and desensitize it, and how to sense when someone's trying to infiltrate it. Teaches you about layering your magic as well, so there's multiple shields for people to have to break through, how to activate them and keep them running, which is really good. But a lot of the techniques in this are pretty taxing energy wise, so when I was doing them and teaching them, what I noticed with students is everyone was becoming quite tired towards the end of a session, and actually having to activate and work with these energies as well was pretty taxing. Whereas in this one, because you're using crystals, and crystals have their own energy supply, you weren't using your own energy, you were just putting a piece of jewellery on that was spelled to do something, and then that was doing it for you. So it's less taxing doing this than this. But if you want to expand and grow magically and become quite powerful and apt at psychic art, there's a lot of techniques in this which were really good. Both of these are filled with lots of interesting information. I'm going to give you some examples from Ted Andrews first. So chapter 1 is removing the veils. So truth about psychic protection, myths and misconceptions, spirits, ghosts and the unseen world, energy drains, group mind and manipulation, and then psychic attack. Becoming a spiritual warrior. So this is where he teaches you how to avenge yourself and learn how to build your shields and some of the stuff I was telling you about before. The tools of protection. And then walking the spiritual path, so spiritual responsibility and intuition, discernment and testing, entering the psychic realms. Then he gives you a massive list of appendices, tools and things you can try for yourself. So magic and spells, the alchemist, the conjurer, magic wins 1, magic wins 2, apparitions, amulets, Egyptian charms, the human aura, weak versus strong auras, the tree of life within the human aura, pyramid cleansing, the white fire vortex, hand positioning, preparation of a charm, predator, Native American medicine shield design, assuming the god form Apollo, angelic talisman before fold and angelic talisman after fold, Chinese sorcery, quabbalistic tree of life, the quest for the Holy Grail, spirits and the senses, the common indicators of psychic attack, what to do if physically attacked, preventing psychic attack, what weakens your aura, are you empathic, the 7 tools of protection, traditional heraldic charges, Native American shamanic shield symbols, traditional heraldic colours, shapes and their significance, Celtic protectors, Egyptian protectors, Greek protectors, Teutonic protectors, archangel associations, warning sigils, discernment of false psychicism and channeling, ways to recognise imbalances and difficulties, various astral and psychic phenomenon, basics for entering the psychic field, qualities of a true spiritual teacher and the psychic codes of ethics. And then he goes on and on. There's lots of techniques, guys, honestly, it just goes on and on. There's lots of things that you can try and do in this book, and then he gives you a list of tools at the end, so colours and candles, aromatherapy, flower elixirs and powers of the sacred sound. So he talks to you about using sound as well and vibration to help protect yourself. So that was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed this book, and again, it's probably one of the best books I have in my collection. Loved reading it at the time, but as I bought this when I was quite young, I haven't read it since. So this probably, I'd score it easily about an 8 out of 10. It's a good book, guys. And again, this one, a lot of what she covers in this is similar to what Ted Andrews has done in that one, to be honest. So, psychic protection tools. So, journaling, the bubble of light, the golden pyramid, breathing, getting grounded, intention and focus, trust, affirmations, your crystal treasure chest, crystal layouts, amulets, visions and revisions, ceremony, positive thought, guardian angels, psychic shields, vision boards, traditional symbols, journaling, smudging, gratitude and blessings, belief in yourself, happiness, animal allies, crystal EFT, relaxation crystals and gem essences. And then chapter 2 is eliminating the negative, and then chapter 3 is being positive. So she teaches you how to protect yourself and all the various techniques that go with that, and then she also gives you a whole section on the negative side of the human personality and the mind and how to counteract that, and then she gives you ways to be positive as well and things to work on. So again, a really good book, same as the other one, 8 out of 10. So So the next one I'm going to talk to you about is one of the odd ones that I was mentioning before, but I love this book and it's worth mentioning because it is a protection book, but it's one that's practical. And if you're an advanced spiritual practitioner, especially someone who works quite a lot with the psychic side of yourself, then this is going to be a fantastic book for you. Not so much a good book if you're a newbie practitioner, if I'm honest, because you need to have really practiced and learned and understood your own energy and mastered that in order for you to do this properly, especially if you're going to do it on other people. And it's this book. It's called Spirit Release, The Practical Handbook by Sue Allen. And this is one of my all-time favourite books. I still refer to it even now. And this book is all about learning how to decode and using the decoding exercises within. And it's a really good book. So to give you an example, it talks about psychic attack and psychic vampires. Chords, so positive chords, finding the chords, negative chords, how and why, karmic chords and chakra chords, and then it goes through all the chakras. Chord cutting, practical exercises, other chord cutting methods, and a conclusion. And then it goes on to internal psychic attack, so thought forms, past lives, thought forms used in psychic attack, witchcraft, black magic and voodoo, which covers body parts and products, objects and entities, curses. Variety of entities, so this is the good bit, guys, this is the really good stuff. So this teaches you a multitude of different entities out there and how to recognise them. So aliens or extraterrestrials, angels, animals, ascended masters, demons and daemons, elementals, fragments, ghosts, guides, helpers, humans living and humans deceased, imprints, incubi, parasites, people from past lives, poltergeists, shapeshifters, succubi, vampires and walk-ins. And then chapter 6, why and how spirits attach. And then chapter 7, spirit attachment and possession, the signs and symptoms and how to remove. And then chapter 8, treating spirit attachment and possession, so responsible spirit release, so and all the various techniques. And some of the techniques that you'll touch on in this is things like prayer and blessings, sprays, oils and essences, crystals, machinery, sound, complementary therapies, acupuncture, hypotherapy, dowsing, physical contact, visualization, light beings, escorts, transfers, voice communication, and then human spirits and dark and demonic spirits, and then it gives you some contract ideas on there as well. And then number 9, working with guides, angels and ascended masters, and it gives you a list of angels, a list of ascended masters, exercises on how to connect with those, and then grounding and closing down exercises as well. And then chapter 10, energy management, so opening, closing, grounding, cleansing, protection, and exercises to raise your vibrations. So this was a thoroughly interesting book, and the things that she covers is quite massive, and actually a lot of the subjects in there, you know, the entities and angels and all that kind of thing, you're going to encounter in the magical world no matter what. So actually, by giving you all that information on how to let go and release that energy if you no longer want it, was really good. So this is a random book to have in your collection, but it's worth it, and actually goes hand in hand with the next two I'm going to talk to you about. So I would consider getting that if I was you guys. 10 out of 10 from me. So the next book I'm going to talk to you about is called Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller, and it looks like that. And this is probably one of my favourite books in my collection, and I still refer to it a lot. Now, my goddess is Hecate, and this particular writer, he talks to you a lot about Hecate in his craft and how to utilise her for protection. And there's so little information out there on Hecate these days that it's quite sad, and I've really struggled over the years to find stuff on her. I've actually go out my way to do serious research in order to find out information. And I have found quite a lot out, but there's very little magically on how to work with her. So when I got this book, and then, you know, obviously I got the book for the reason of protection, and when I realised when I was reading it that he wrote it from a perspective of using Hecate for protection magic, I was over the moon. This is fantastic, guys. Honestly, he covers such a wide variety of subjects in it, and it's worth every penny, honestly. So chapter 1 is recognising attacks, chapter 2 daily practices, chapter 3 personal protection, chapter 4 protection for your home and loved ones, chapter 5 exorcism, and chapter 6 spirit guardians and servitors, and he does tell you what a servitor is as well. And then chapter 7 reversals and counter magic, chapter 8 healing and recovery, and chapter 9 final words, and then he gives you notes, and then he gives you full appendices of further study and appendices on Hecate herself. So there's a lot of information in this book, guys, and actually I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was really worth every penny. It gives you lots of examples like that in it. It talks to you about really old magic as well, like abracadabra and what it was used for and why you should still use it today and have it in your home and how it's empowered. So there was lots of really you know, interesting information, this, and I do feel like it's worth getting for your collection. And actually the sigil on the front is one of the sigils that he actually teaches you to draw and create in the book and use in your craft, and I've not long used that actually in a ritual. It's something I've used for years and years now, and he teaches you how to use it, how to activate it and charge it, and you know, use it to trap and remove entities from your life. So it's a brilliant book, guys. 10 out of 10. The next book, again, same, 10 out of 10, can't fault it. I thought it was fantastic and I really love it. And this one's written from a very magical perspective, whereas Jason Miller is definitely a cult perspective on things. This one's definitely a magical practitioner. So this one is Practical Protection Magic by Elena Dugan, and again, she's one of my favourite writers. She's phenomenal, and this book was probably still my all-time favourite book she's ever written. So I'm going to give you an idea of the content, but again, this is quite an extensive book, so I'm not going to give you everything. So she gives you a full introduction to the book. So Practical Protection Magic, the Magician, the High Priestess, exploring the middle ground, what you will find in this book, and beginning your journey. Chapter 1, Psychic Awareness and Witchery. So psychic awareness, psychic talent. So she actually gives you quizzes to figure out what actual psychic talent you are, which is really good. Psychic strengths and weaknesses, the Public Witch, the next steps. Then she, after that, puts all the chapters into elements. So your first chapter then is air. So knowledge is power. So the magical background quiz, psychic attack, how do I know for sure? Symptoms of a psychic attack, elemental solutions for psychic attack, down to earth advice on hauntings, the haunted house, ghost busting for witches, who you're going to call, which is funny, doing your haunted homework, sharing the house with a friendly ghost, and standing tall and looking within. And then chapter 3, setting boundaries, which is the water element, dealing with emotional vampires, identifying vampires, passive aggressive emotional bullies, the bully versus the witch, defining your boundaries, and summoning water. Chapter 4, guarding and reclaiming your power. So this is the earth element. So the psychic vampire, types of psychic vampires and their energy feeding habits, warning symptoms and signs of psychic vampirism, protection for yourself and psychic vampires. Are all psychic vampires bad? And give it away, here's how to get it back, and a psychic detox spell. And then chapter 5 is the physical fitness equals magical strength, which is fire. So this is getting yourself in shape, taking care of your energy, your body, your environment, and staying healthy. And then witch heal thyself. Then chapter 6 is warding and witchery, and this one's all about creating wards in your home using the wreath, the swag, the broom, and wardings, horseshoes and hex signs, gargoyle warding magic and gargoyle stones, and using protective symbols for your garden, working with the Key of Solomon. And then chapter 7 is called Hex Marks the Spot, so the true cost of hex and curses, confirming the problem with divination, common lessons learned hard, and then the moral of magical stories. And then chapter 8, the darker shades of candle, herb, and crystal magic, and she lists all the negatives that they could be used for, and then positives of that as well. And then chapter 9, practical magic, so ways to expand, and again she mentions Hecate as well quite a few times in this book, so that's another reason I enjoyed it. So 10 out of 10, guys. It's a brilliant book, and all the exercises and the techniques in this are thoroughly worth going through. And actually I refer to this quite a lot when I've been challenged with something that I know I've got information on, but it's not something I do on a regular basis. So I will often reread books like this in order to remind myself on how to do certain techniques. So this is a fantastic book, 10 out of 10. Now, I'm going to skip over these next two quickly because, again, they're a bit random, but I think they're worth mentioning. So there's this one, Curses, Hexes and Crossing, and it's by S. Connolly. Now, I know you're all thinking, why on earth does she have that in her collection and why is she recommending it? Well, firstly, if you want to be the kind of magical practitioner that just wants to protect yourself and hide in a shell, kind of like a turtle, then go for it. But if you are the kind of witch, like me, who likes to thoroughly understand all the different magics that are out there and all the different possibilities, including curses, hexes, and crossing magic, then this is something you should have in your collection. And one of the biggest reasons having something like this in your collection is because how can you learn to defend properly against something if you don't first dissect it and understand it? So having something like this helps you understand the other side of the craft, and obviously once you understand it and you know how it's done, you also know how to undo it and how to take it apart and destroy it. So this is a fundamental piece of information you should have in your collection, and I've got a few like this, but this is one of the ones I wanted to talk to you about. Now I'm going to give you the content as well, so you've got an idea of what these kinds of books contain. So what is a curse? So it'll talk to you about all the different versions. Let's talk about ethics and excretion magic. So if you don't know what excretion magic is, it's an old term in occultism for baneful magic. So witches call it baneful magic, but occultists tend to call it excretion magic. So pretty much the same thing. So the psychology of curses and how they work, the brief history of a curse, melancholy of the curse, and then cursing, herbals and stones, and then it does have a whole section on breaking curses, hexes and crossing magic. So it's not just neglectful and teaches you how to do it, it teaches you how to undo it as well. So it's another good book to have in your collection if you're wanting to get rid of curses, hexes and baneful magic, and figure out how to do that, because obviously this will show you how it's done, but then how to undo it as well. So that's very good. So 10 out of 10 for the information that's in it, but as far as it goes, because it's not a witch book, it's more occulty, it's probably more of a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And I do recommend having at least one in your collection, guys, just so you understand it all. And then the next one I want to talk to you about, again, is another random one, but this is more about working on yourself and the outside world. So obviously, as a magical practitioner, we're responsible for our own energy, and sometimes we have to face our darker side, and as witches, we call that the shadow self. Working shadow magic isn't about working magic on the outside world, it's about working magic on yourself and bettering yourself and making yourself a better person. So you're going to need something like this in your collection. So this is one that I have, and I do have a couple, but a couple of them have been borrowed out from my collection lately by my, for my students to study and learn and practice. But this is one that was still on my shelf, so I thought I'd show it as an example. So it's called Shadow Magic Compendium, and it's by Raven Digitalis, and it looks like that. So it's actually got a really cool front cover, to be honest. And I've never read any of his work before, but I've got to say I do enjoy this, and actually you can see I still use it now and work on it. But there's actually tests in this about working through your darker aspect, and it does it by elements. So it's got earth, the shadow traits, and then it goes through all the elements like that, and you ask yourself questions and then you answer yes or no, and then what that does is you top that up and you figure out how imbalanced or negative you are and which element rules you the most negatively as opposed to good. And there's other books like some of the ones I've mentioned to you there, especially this one. So this one, you take tests to figure out what type of psychic you are, but there's also a test in it to figure out what element rules you, and there's also tests you can take to figure out what chakra it rules you the most as an energy. So all of those things, when you add up, you can figure out the positivities, but then this one gives you the negative side of that as well, and how imbalancing they can be and what they can do to you and your personality, and then how to counter that. And it teaches you how to work step by step for your personality and the darker aspects of yourself, so your addictions, your negatives, whether that be self-doubt or self-hate, or you wake up every morning you're negative, or instead of seeing the brighter side of life, you're always seeing the darker side, you're always gloomy or moody. This teaches you all about that and why, and how to work against that and be a better magical practitioner and a better you. So that was good for that reason, and that's why it's the last one in this collection, because it is an odd book and it's not really about magical defense, it's more about working on yourself magically and not being so dark and broody and moody and negative. So yeah, for that reason I wanted to include it, and I'm going to score this one at about probably about an 8 out of 10 actually, because it is really good. It does have a lot of good things in it. Content wise, just to give you an idea, because I realise I haven't said that yet, content is basic. He says the internal shadow, the external shadow, the astro shadow, the shadow of nature, and the shadow of sorcery. And they talk to you about society, morals and ethics and that kind of thing really as well. So he does challenge you quite a lot to think outside the box, and he does work with a lot of interesting energies in this book, so it is worth having a look. So yeah, as I say, 8 out of 10. And then the last book I'm going to mention in this video, and I haven't read it yet, I've literally only just bought it and I was excited to do this video, so I can't include it, but I'm going to mention it, and it's this one. So this is Protection Magic by Cassandra Eason, and she is one of my favourite practitioners, so I'm looking forward to reading this, so I cannot wait to read it and discover what's inside it, because I like to take my magic to the next level, and she's a good writer and she's good for that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So to give you an idea of the content in this book and why I bought it, I'll read it out to you. So, protection from and reversing spells, jinxes and bad luck. Protection from and wards against paranormal attack. Breaking curses and ill wishing from individuals, familiars and workplaces. breaking written or unspoken hexes by magical practitioners, amateurs and professional alike, protection from bullies, abuse, intimidation, both physical and psychological, protection from destructive and abusive love, deceptions, stalkers and always loving the wrong people, protection from cyberbullying, social media nasties, online dating hazards and internet fraud, protection from the evil eye of envy, creating psychic wards and wardens for powerful protection, and protection from fears, phobias, addictions and personal abuse, protection from financial loss, financial problems and debt, creating protection, psychic shields around yourself and your loved ones, protection of the home and all within, protection in the workplace, your career and your business, protection while travelling and commuting, and protection from injustice, both legal and personal, protection for children from harm and fear, protecting teenagers and young adults, and spells for teenagers and young adults to cast to deal with stresses, complexities and problems of modern life, and the protection of pets and wildlife. So there's a lot of different things in this, so I can't wait to read it. And actually, just as a side note, she's doing a whole collection like this, and I know she's released one on Love Magic as well, so I'm really keen to get that because again, she's a good writer and I can't wait to see what she's done with it all. So yeah, so if you'd like me to do a short video and let you know what I thought of this once I've read it, leave a comment below and I will do, guys. So that's all I've got for you for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed it, please give me that thumbs up. That would be fab, guys. And if you don't yet subscribe, please do so, and it'll tell you when my next videos come out. And if you've got any questions, comments or queries, please comment below. I'm happy to answer them. And if any of you out there would like me to expand on any of these books, please ask and I will do a short video, or I will send you a personalised video and tell you more about it. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I'm the City Witch and I'm done for today. So blessed be, take care of each other, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.